Hey VC, it's Ron. Thanks for stopping by. Well, I'm back with some recent finds. I think I've got about 16 albums to show today. So we'll be getting a look at those in a few. But yeah, I've been surviving the Arizona heat. And I'd say probably 4 or 5 days ago, we hit a high of 115 degrees. So that was pretty toasty, but it was very dry heat, which makes it a little more bearable. But yeah, if you're out there in it for a while and you're active, it will get to you. So yeah, I've had this week off, so you know I've been able to hide indoors as much as I want. But yeah, I went out and I did some things, so that was all right. But yeah, it was pretty damn toasty. In fact, I went to the grocery store and I bought a loaf of bread, and by the time I got it home, it was toast. So yeah, hot. All right, let's get going with the showing. This first one is by a lady that I don't really see in the VC. I'm sure she's been featured, but I don't ever see her. So it's Marilyn Monroe. And this is an original 1962 US copy. And it is on the 20th Century Fox label. Pretty nice shape, you know, and it was cheap, so I grabbed it. So it does not have the photo insert. It had a photo of the cover picture. I didn't get that, but that's all right. Who doesn't love Marilyn? What a sweet lady she was. All right. This next one is an album that's live at the Cheetah Club in New York City. And this is from 1966. And I think it is true live recordings, and it's recorded, they recorded several bands here. We got the Esquires, Mike St. Shaw and the Prophets, and the Thunder Frog Ensemble. The first 2 tracks by the Esquires are the best. They do a cover version of Paint It Black and Get Off My Cloud. And then the last 2 tracks by the Thunder Frog Ensemble are the second best. Those are in the garage field, and the others are sort of like rock and soul. So evidently this album came with a free vinyl pillow. There's the inflation instructions right there. And boy, I bet those are really rare. I looked on Discogs and they didn't have a picture of it. They're probably all pretty much rotted by now. But yeah, it's on the Audio Fidelity label. And there's a footnote down at the bottom, and it says that Audio Fidelity Records produced and released the world's first stereophonic fidelity record. And that came out in November of 1957. And it also says that Audio Fidelity Records released the first commercial videotape, which is Johnny Paycheck on Audio 2020 label, June of 1966. So that's kind of interesting information right there. So this is pretty cool. Let me show you the label. They're not expensive and they're not especially rare. They came out in mono and stereo, and I got a mono copy. This next one is the second album by Black Sheep, 1975. And this is Pre-Foreigner with Lou Gramm. It's kind of like Bad Company meets Foreigner. There's the label. And it did come with an inner sleeve. So they put out 2 albums, and I have them both now. Some people say the first one's the best, and I read some reviews that said they thought that the second one was the best. So I've not passed judgment, I've not compared them that much, but they're both pretty decent. Alright, this next one fills a hole in my Moby Grape collection, and it's Moby Grape 69. And this one's a little bit difficult to find out in the wild. I've seen a few copies of it, but they've always been really rough. So this is on the Columbia 2i label. So I listened to this album the other night, and I'd heard it before, but I listened to it the other night, and yeah, I really like that album. It's a good one. Last one before they broke up. So very cool. This next one is I've known of it for over 30 years, like 35 years. I never heard any of it. I knew it had a good reputation. Never really saw it around, but I come across an excellent copy at a great price, so I grabbed it. And if you like the band Beau Brummels, you will like the Merry-Go-Round. And this is 1967 on the A&M label. It's their only album, and the band featured a 18-year-old Emmett Rhodes who would go on to do some solo albums. This album surprised me. It is just really good. I don't know if there's a bad track on the whole album. So if you like that sort of Beatle-y folk rock, you will definitely enjoy this album. And I'm pretty sure that Sundays has reissued this album. Here's some more folk rock, and it's by Jonathan and Lee on the Vanguard label, 1967. And this is their only album. It's called Third and Main. I saw it in the store. I didn't know it. I went home, checked YouTube, thought it was pretty good. So the next time I was at the store, it was still there, so I grabbed it. And it's male-female folk rock. It's got a lot of upbeat tunes as well as the mellow stuff. And they do a version of Cocaine Blues, which is an old sort of black folk song. Different from the Cocaine Blues that Johnny Cash did on his Live in Folsom Prison album. And then there's an excellent folk psych song called Summer Sorrow on here. Really good tunes. There's a song on here that's kind of like the Jefferson Airplane, like something from their first album. So he sings out of the right speaker and she sings out of the left speaker in unison. I think it's pretty good. They're originally out of Ohio, and they moved to the New York City, Greenwich Village area, and that's where they were discovered by a Vanguard talent scout. Got them a good deal, and unfortunately, they only had the one album. It rates pretty good. I would say up towards 3 stars. Not quite 3, but it's up there. All right, this next one is a record store release by Pink Floyd, and it's London live live in the studio, 1966, 1967. This is a repackage of the Tonight Let's All Make Love in London soundtrack. Here's the inner sleeve. So I picked this up used, and it is on white vinyl. And it was released April 16th, 2011. Limited edition of 1,000 copies. I was a little bit disappointed in the sound quality. To me, it sounds like it was digitally remastered from the CD. But it's still very cool to have it on vinyl, as I did only have it on CD. This is the original UK CD that came out in 1993. And it has a fold-open poster sleeve. It's on the C for Miles label. And this is the French version of that. And this is the original UK VHS videotape that came out in 1994. And this is Syd Barrett's first trip. This is a UK release, and this is not a bootleg version. This is it wasn't official, but it was released legitimately. And there's a picture of Syd holding a bunch of magic mushrooms there on the cover. You've probably seen this, but if you've not seen it, you can watch it on YouTube. It was a 8mm home movie of Syd and his friends out in the country tripping on shrooms. So this was released in the early 90s. I don't know the exact year, but I bought it when it was first released. And limited edition of 5,000 copies of this. So, pretty cool. Silent film, but a lot of people have added music to it over the years. Okay, this next one I got another Pink Floyd, and it's a bootleg, European bootleg, and it's Let There Be More Light. And this is just so good. BBC Sessions 68-69. And it's on the Swinging Dog label. It says made in Austria on the cover, but who knows. Here's the label. Picture labels on both sides. This came out in 2012. And then it was reissued, I think a couple years later, 2 or 3 years later, and it was reissued, instead of the pink, it's all in blue. I heard all this pretty much. There might have been a few recordings that I didn't have or heard before, but the fidelity on this is just the best I've ever heard for these sessions. Just fantastic. So if you can lay your hands on this, definitely get that. Okay, this next one is a British band called Home, and this is their third and final album, The Alchemist. And this is heavy prog rock. And check that cover. Isn't that a neat cover? Man, I just love this. It's near mint original UK copy. It's a concept album, and it rates pretty high, but it didn't sell. It got good reviews in the day, but it didn't sell very well. But they're not extremely expensive either. I mean, they go for around $40 online, but I got a real good price on this, so I didn't pay anywhere near that. It's on the orange CBS label. Now their first two albums are a little more folky, and this one they moved in a different direction. It's more of a it's got the mellow stuff on it, you know, here and there, but it's also got the heavier prog rock too. So that's a pretty good album. I like that. Here is Julie Driscoll and Brian Auger in the Trinity. Come out in 1960. Well, I think in England it came out in 1967, and then in the U.S. it came out in 1968. And this is a totally different cover than the British cover. This is a promo copy. So on side 1, it's Brian Auger on vocal, and on side 2, it's Julie Driscoll. And this is pretty good. It's sort of jazzy rock. It's a little bit out of my liking, but I found it pretty good. She did a really good version of Season of the Witch, and that's my favorite track on the whole album. So this is pretty cool because it's a white label promo, and it's on an Atco label variation that I'd never seen before. So that's definitely one of the reasons I grabbed this. Very interesting. And here's the promo sticker, and somebody has written KRLA, the famous Los Angeles radio station. So that's cool. Alright, this next one is Principal Edward's Magic Theatre. This is UK folk. It's got some rock on it. It's kind of like a heavy blues rock sound on side 2. Side 1's mainly all UK folk with male-female vocal, a lot of female vocal, and some very weird lyrics, definitely. And this band was associated with the legendary British disc jockey John Peel. It's on his label, Dandelion. This is a US copy. And this is the only album I've ever seen in the US on Dandelion. It did have an insert, but I did not get that. And that came out in the early 70s, I believe. Probably 71, 72. It's pretty decent. It definitely didn't wow me, and I wouldn't say it was essential, but pretty good listening. Here's a 70s reissue of Traffic. This is a UK copy. Here's the label. I got a really excellent deal on this. So the vinyl's like near mint. So I would definitely needed that. And then I got, here's my record store day find from earlier this year that I'm just now showing. I actually did buy this on record store day, and it's the only thing I bought, and it's the Power of Zeus reissue. So I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm sure you know how great this album is. Here's one previously unreleased LP from 1970. This was a Texas band called Wolfgang, Eliminate Hate. And I've listened to this a couple of times. Can't really talk about the music too much, but it is good. And it features the guitarist that was in Josephus. And it's Wolf Mike Long, Stone Axe, and Josephus on electric guitar. So here, I'll get the hype information for you. I know Randy, Deadwax66, has a copy of this. So yeah, it's on the Outsider label. European pressing. Okay, here is Mission of Burma, Forget. They were a punk band out of the Boston area. They only released one album in, I believe, '82, and then they immediately broke up. There's a lot of Mission and Burma LPs out there, but it's all stuff that is out of the vault. So this is on the Tang label, and it's on green vinyl. So I found this and I decided, you know what, I don't have any Mission of Burma, so I'm grabbing it. Check out their only album. It is just so good. Discogs does not say when this came out, but judging from the catalog on the inner sleeve, it probably came out around 89 or 90. And that's a pretty solid guess. So it came out on green vinyl limited edition, and it also came out on black vinyl. And the final one here is, well, almost final, is the Sonics Live Fans Only. And I had this back in the 80s when it came out, 1986. I had this. It's on the Adequate label. And it's two live sources, Live 66 and Live 1972, which was a reunion gig. The 72 is pretty good quality. The 66 is more lo-fi. But in the 72 gig, they do a killer version of Psycho and a killer version of The Witch. And in the 66 gig, they do a cover version of The Seeds' Pushing Too Hard, which is very interesting to hear, but it's a bit sloppy. I don't think they rehearsed that very much. So here's the set list. So pretty cool. And it did come with a poster. Alright, what was on the turntable? The Black Angels, Indigo Metal, or Meadow, excuse me. And this is from 2013. So I really like this album. In fact, it's my second favorite Black Angels album. My favorite one is the one that's the most recently released, Death Song. And in fact, this band ought to be coming out with a new album pretty soon. It's been a while. So this has got a really nice gatefold cover with a booklet attached on the inside. And it's got like, they made it look vintage with like stains in the graphics. And it's got, you know, the lyric and all that. So this band always has albums with really nice packaging, and this one's on Blue Horizon label, black vinyl. So very cool. Okay, that's gonna do it, and I did make one really nice recent find, and it is I bought a car. So last weekend I went to the dealership and I got a really good deal on a 2017 Chevy Trax SUV. A little over 20,000 miles on it. Oh, it's just so nice. I've never really had a really nice vehicle before, so I'm just thrilled over this thing. I mean, I'm going to be putting a pretty good chunk of money down on it. I mean, I've already paid a lot on it, but I'm going to be putting more on it. And that's going to cut my payments way down, you know. I won't have to pay forever, you know. So yeah, it's pretty nice. So very happy about that. So yeah, there's going to be some change or two coming up, and I'll be talking about that later. Looks like I'm probably going to have to move. So that will be discussed in the future, but for now, Mom's the word. Everybody take care, and later.